Welcome to Collector's Corner, the premier digital art platform.
We help collectors gain and maintain their edge, all while appreciating beautiful art.
Let's jump in.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Cornering the Market from Collector's Corner. My name is P. I'm your host. You may know me online as @AstamCloud or Astam on Twitter. Here's my Twitter handle in case you want to give me a follow. I'm joined by my great friend and co-host, Jared_Pause. It's been a while, Jared. Welcome back. How are you been?
I'm back. I'm done with business travels and vacation, my man. So happy to be here. Thank you for not giving me the boot and welcoming me with open arms.
Of course. We'll never give you the boot. Jared is the founder of the 8NAP Digital Asset Fund. So if you're interested in getting exposure in your investment portfolio to digital art, hit Jared up. And he's also the founder of 8NAP Art, which has sold their season 1 mint passes. So we're excited to see that come around the pipeline. And just a couple of quick house cleaning things. This is a video episode. Check it out on YouTube. Please give us a like and a follow. That really helps us. And if not, don't worry. We also will have this out on our podcast for audio only. And we have a newsletter shown on the screen here on Substack. Check it out. That is going to have stories that are not found in this audio or video episode. And we've added a $20 paywall to the newsletter to help support this podcast, $20 a month. That is 0.01 ETH, 12 ETH these days as prices have fluctuated. And finally, I know there's a bunch of tiers. I have started an investor-focused group called Collector's Corner Premium. That one is $100 a month for anyone looking to get investment-grade advice and build wealth while collecting digital art. Okay, all that out of the way, let's dive right into it. Here's our Twitter. We'll talk about the vibe during this. Jared, what is the vibe out in the Web3 art market?
You know, I would delineate between two different types of people. There are the collector flippers and the long-term holders. I think that the sentiment amongst long-term holders is oriented towards, how do I say this, like optimism. And I think that if you have dry powder, which not a lot of people seem to have these days, you know, there's some really amazing deals, which we'll talk about. I think on the more financially oriented individuals, it's just slim pickings, but there's still opportunities if you're diligent enough and you surround yourself with good people like Collector's Corner Premium. But other than that, you know, I mean, I'm seeing, you know, we'll talk about it, but one point is, you know, the Harvest had a lot of sales this week, but there was a lot of people like weething it and selling it for 0.1 or 0.2 profit. So I think that people are anxious to hold long term, which the good news there, the flippers are anxious to hold long term. The good news is that presents lots of opportunities for those who believe in the space long term. So I'm incredibly bullish. I feel like we've, you know, we're looking up the hill for opportunity, and just it's how you choose to capitalize it in this time.
Yeah, absolutely. It does feel like the people who are here for the long haul are here for the long haul. Probably many of our dedicated listeners. The only other thing I'll add, and I agree with you on the flippers, the only other thing I'll add is we were talking about this a little bit off screen. I'm curious to see what happens with the flippers when, or if I should say, PFPs continue to drop. They took a big hit over the past couple of weeks. Bored Apes below 25 ETH, and that's just such a major point of focus for the NFT market. And so we'll be interesting to see how that plays out. If we get, you know, if there are flipper types who are over there that come over to the art side, long-term holders who come over to the art side, I'm not sure. But I do think that and the fact that Bitcoin and Ethereum have dropped in price is putting a little bit of pressure on the market, which is showing up mostly in low liquidity. The floor prices seem to have held up. So that's
the final point on the PFP thing, and we should have a spaces or something about this. I think it comes down to incentives and what incentivizes people to be holders. I think it's being a founder and now starting to get the, you know, 8NAP art going. It's something top of mind, and I think that there will be case studies in hindsight about like incentives behind a lot of these PFPs.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about some art. What are you seeing on the Ethereum Gen Art side?
So it was a really cool week to see. There was a one that got my heart a little bit. There was a 9 ETH sale on a Meridian, which was a newspaper or newsprint, and it just, man, seeing that one sell was really, really tough for me because I've been pursuing one for a long time. But again, going back to what we're saying, amazing opportunity. I there was 21 harvest sales, which I thought was really interesting, most of them being sold into ETH. And then an amazing guide 3 night sold for 7.3 ETH. And there's also on memories, there's a beautiful smoke and fire sale around 5. I think that's it's an interesting floor there because it's fictitiously low. So I think that will be a buy that ages extremely well. But overall, there are no major sales. There was a Fidenza sale, and then unfortunately a Fidenza, the revenue or the volume is up due to a stolen Fidenza. Sad to see, but a lot of I feel like consistent, not crazy volume, but like consistent volume across a lot of projects. I mean, 5 Meridian sales, 4 anti-cyclones. And what was really interesting to me too is Singularity had 8 sales, so it's consistently been purchased with the floor up 31%. So interesting that this one is kind of holding true. And then obviously elevated deconstruction, called the Achilles heel to collecting a curated series 1 through 8 set. So it's cool to see people still showing interest. Overall, I'm still optimistic about this, man.
And Jared, not to spend too much time on this, but I'm curious, when you say that you believe the memories of Chilean floor is fictitiously low, are you just seeing that there's 2 sales to getting up to 4.8 ETH, 3 sales to 5 ETH? So just a couple of people capitulating. Is that what you mean?
Exactly. I feel like so hence why that smoke and fire may look like a premium to the floor, because the floor is low at 3.5, but honestly, after 3 or 4 or 2 or 3 sales, you're back at a 5 ETH floor, and then all of a sudden that's a really rare pallet for the floor cost. So and I get it that forest pallet's been on the floor and the person's been lowering it over and over and over again. It just doesn't seem to have the attention, but goes back to, again, you can get some really great pieces if you're diligent enough.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's kind of the illusion of the floor price. Well, awesome summary. On the fxhash side, really not seeing a ton. There was a bit of a run on a bugged forest by Zancan, which is interesting to see. It does seem like the attention goes in waves, and really interesting. We have 2 like mega sales from there. So Lemontidi, big collector, bought this really nice black and white one, which honestly kind of looks like one that I used to own. Wow, they really give you all the details, but nope, this person minted it. So a bugged forest, Zancan, unsurprisingly leading the way on 7-day sales fxhash. Looks like we had a dragon sale as well. That was a really nice one, the magical, and a couple new collections coming into play, like this lonely tree, unpredictable taco. I actually saw this one, kind of a cool collection, but I'd say it's middle of the road volume for the bear market here in fxhash. We have 7 collections above 1,000 Tezos in secondary volume over the last week. So it's pretty dry. Tezos really hasn't caught a bid yet outside of those blue chips, which is pretty consistent with what we're seeing across the market. So nothing crazy new here from my read. How about on Squiggles?
Squiggles, I would say, is a fairly standard week. I mean, the volume is at 250.92 ETH, which ironically my line in the sand is 250. So right on point with what I would consider an average week. It's down from 352 last week. Floor price is 10.2, down from 10.4. Overall, though, I'm pretty happy that it's been able to hold up as well as it has. I think there's like 3 or 4, maybe 5 sales until you get to 11 ETH, and it's pretty thick from 11 to 12. But it seems like anytime somebody comes in, undercutting, it gets consumed within a couple days. So that 10.5 ETH is kind of where I'm, just monitoring pretty closely. And then 20 sales versus 28 last week. The highlights this week, there was a 28 ETH sale on a pipe, which I found to be pretty crazy considering there was a couple market buys in the 40s recently. Otherwise, good mix of ETH and market buys. And then, my fuzzy love, There's a lot of fuzzies that were traded hands, a couple of them like flipped from flippers to more diamond handed individuals. But overall, I'd say a pretty standard week for squiggles. And, it's just an affirmation to me of a good base that's being put in for this collection.
Yeah, it's always nice to see a good week from Squiggle, since that's really a marquee collection in the generative art world, and a good indicator of what might be going on more broadly. And so to see Squiggles acting normal is always helpful. Friendship bracelets is another one that I've been looking at. 16 ether in volume versus 17 and a half in the last 7-day period. It's quite low. The floor is down. It's actually up to 0.1. It was basically 0.1 last week as well, so we'll call it flat. 125 sales versus 107 in the last week, in the last 7-day period. So that's improved. And listings keep dropping a lot. 1331 listed, Jared, versus 1484. I haven't seen this low before. 1331 is about 3.5%. So we're getting quite thin here. So if there is a catalyst up, it could move quickly.
Yeah,
But
my
go ahead.
my read on it is there's very little downside risk, or at least relative, again, not financial advice, but relative to the upside potential. It just feels like there's about to be a moment, in my opinion, but that comes from somebody who holds a pretty substantial bag. But I agree with you. It's got the attention, and it's thinning in a peculiar way.
Yeah, and look, the thesis for friendship bracelets is, if art blocks really takes off, then people will look at a good exposure to art blocks, and friendship bracelets are a natural project that would be that. And they look great, which is key. We'll talk about it. We're getting into an era of really having low cost, high supply art come out, and so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. So let's go ahead and move on to release recaps. Just one for today: Dendro by Bjorn. Sorry, I hope I pronounced that somewhat okay. Isakin. So Mr. Isakin had another project released on Art Blocks quite a while ago. It's called Strata. It reminded me, at least, of Meridian, but obviously had some distinctions there, especially in the aesthetic. This was the next project, came out just on Monday, I believe it was, either Monday or Tuesday. 275 pieces, minted out at 0.05. It's actually 4x mint right now, 0.2145. And they're actually really nice. Like, I didn't pick up any of these, full disclosure, but I really like the variety. I think the art is soothing. I'm a fan. What do you think about this one, Jared? And also, sorry, one last thing I should say. To me, this just speaks to really nice art from released at a low price can do well as an investment. And certainly it just feels nice as a collector to be like, I can buy something for relatively cheap and not worry about it, and not feel like there's a competition to get it. So that was my impression from it, but would love to hear any thoughts you have, Jared.
This was a no-brainer to me. When it comes to full disclosure, my personal wallets hold a lot of the original Strata project. I'm a big fan of the artist. They have this kind of consistent geological type of aesthetic. But overall, man, I think 0.05 was such a great entry point for something like this. And it's, to me, I say no-brainer, but beautiful art for 0.05. I mean, come on, like that's all you could hope for right now. And I think it's good to see the market rallying behind the artist, and at the same time the market rewarding great art. So overall, I'm enthusiastic with this. Unfortunately, I was traveling and didn't mint any, so I'm gonna probably have to pick some up on this secondary.
Yeah, well, they're still quite reasonably priced, so you didn't miss out too much. And again, that's what you would hope, the benefit of a bear market. So that was the only release we wanted to recap. Next, we'll hop over to some Gen Art news, and not a ton going on. So this isn't exactly news. It's a little bit of a hybrid of upcoming releases, also great art at great prices. But I wanted to talk about Coinbase's On Base Summer, and there are 4 brilliant generative artists, as they mentioned here, that are opening up work to millions of new collectors. So the 4 collections here are Fractal Tapestries by Holger Lippmann, I'm just going to check and see how many are minted after we talk about these. Crypto Native by Melissa Widerect. We also have 1,000 True Fans by Leander Herzog and Runaway by James Merrill. So all of these are open for multiple days. All of them are minting for like $10 or less. All of them created algorithms that were meant to have a large supply. And because this is on Coinbase, it is potentially exposure to a new crowd and getting even folks who may not be crypto native. You can buy these with a credit card to be able to get exposure to these. And the other thing that I find interesting is, as I mentioned earlier, really, really high supply. There's some rarities here. Really curious to see how the market treats these, especially with secondary action. So I'm going to pause there. I know I said a bunch. Would love any thoughts you have on this, Jared.
I'm a fanboy of James Merrill. Hopped on a spaces with him. I think this is an amazing project overall. I love the fact that people will get exposure through Coinbase. They don't need crypto. They can start to collect around it. I love the entry point is very reasonable overall. The standout to me is James's project. It's not to discount anybody else's art. I just, full disclosure, I'm just such a advocate of James's art in general. So it comes with a clear bias, but dude, I think this is awesome. I really applaud what Coinbase is doing. Obviously trying to promote their base second layer L2. But overall, man, amazing art, attractive entry point. I'm, full disclosure, going to be buying quite a number of James's pieces and try to pick off some on the secondary with more rarity. So 100% love it, 100% on board with this.
Absolutely. And it's great to see. We just quickly checking numbers, about 10,000 pieces minted across the 4 collections, all of them right around 2,500. So really great to see. I agree with you on the art. I'm a big fan of James. It's just my personal aesthetic and the variety is put in. I really like this. I don't know what this palette is. Cityscape. Yeah, he's got some cool palettes. So really fantastic job. Congrats to James and all the artists here. Congrats to Coinbase. I think this is going very well. And hopefully we get a bunch more folks on here who can get onboarded to Gen Art and really get that experience of getting the random mint. So
yeah, I look forward to a lot of people saying one of these 4 were my first generative art piece. I just think that there's such an opportunity to have that, and really appreciate what Coinbase is doing in that sense.
Yeah, 100%. They're we'll see how this ripples, but this is the type of thing that we need to really get a lot more people on board. Oh wow, this one's really cool too. Number 47. I like that. I'm gonna have to go check these out as well. Let's move on to some more great art at great prices. The first one I wanted to highlight is September by Tyler Boswell. Given the recent drop in the Tezos price, this collection is now fallen under our great art great prices threshold, and it's, in my opinion, right there as a blue chip on fxhash. Just kind of got whipsawed by the bear market a little bit, but I really like this style. I really like the sort of church stained glass appearance. That's what it reminds me of, and great variety in this collection. So wanted to highlight that one. All right, next up we have Ecstasis by Grant Osterling. This was a relatively new release that came out on Art Blocks that gives me How You See Me by Lars Wander vibes, but just really nice art in my opinion, sitting at a 0.05 ether floor. So very much so great art at great prices, and I think there's some really nice ones you could find. You could probably throw almost any bid and get one of these, so I don't think you're restricted to the floor on this one. Then the last one I wanted to bring up was Flux by Owen Moore. This was an Art Blocks curated April 2022, so kind of in the down market time. But this is a really nice one. It has perpetual motion and there's some music to it. Really like calming, soothing art. I guess it's not really. Oh, you have to click on this now to hear it. That's what it is. Anyways, I'm going to stop that so we don't have this music coming on the whole time. Jared, let's talk upcoming releases. We have Momentum by Rick Austenbrook and 200 pieces only for Velocity Pass holders, coming out at some point this week or maybe next week. It says see you in a week. That was 7 days ago. So I need to check and see exactly what the details are. Oh, sorry, it is today. My apologies. It is today. It's a Dutch auction that starts at 10 ether, gets down to I think actually zero point 0.4 ether, something along those lines. And Rick is actually not a generative artist, but he's created 200 unique one of ones that have a generative element to this. Let me see if I can find some images of this. But while I'm doing that, what do you think about this one, Jared?
I'm super stoked for this. I love Rick's work. And I didn't even know this, but when we were on the spaces for James, it came up that he was, he's been close to James for some time for like color and whatnot. So overall, man, I think it's cool that the artist community rallies around each other. I think for this specifically, I love the outputs. I'm a little bit sad that it's only for the velocity holders, but say la vie, it is what it is. Absolutely love the work.
Yeah, and it looks like it's going right now as we're filming. Some people have minted some
I mean,
as
look at these
well.
outputs. These are just, they're stunning. Like the colors, it almost has an iridescent look with the ribbons. I mean, I fell in love with what he released on the proof grails, and it's just, I think overall it's a very beautiful piece.
Really, yeah, really nice. And this flow state was a unique, an addition of 1,000 that was airdropped to all the pass holders. So you see a little bit of, well, basically a tiny bit of secondary action there. Well, and there'll be more of these velocity series coming out. The next one's with perk work, and then there's one with Snowfro. So that'll be pretty cool to see. Another exciting upcoming drop. I'll do this one quickly. Flourish by Sterling Crispin comes out in 7 days. This is an Art Blocks Presents. But what I liked about it, Sterling is a really thoughtful guy and really thoughtful artist. But I like the symbolism and the symbols that are generated here in this. So I thought that was cool. It felt a little bit unique. So interested to see how that goes. August 30th at 1 p.m. Eastern. And I'll throw it over to you, Jared, for Heart plus Craft, the next Snowfro release.
This is, I listened to the spaces yesterday with Jordan, the Art Blocks engine, and Snowfro, and some others. And I was really wanted to highlight this because I think it's an exciting thing. If you're an Art Blocks holder, and then there's a laundry list of other holders, then you get a free mint, which I think is amazing and very inclusive. Obviously, being an inclusive edition, I love the marriage between the physical component. I was reading a tweet yesterday about how somebody got early access to the 3D printing instructions and created it. Just the overall intent behind it. It's an attractive price point. Personally, I'm going to mint a bunch of them and start gifting them to friends and family. So I just think it's a really, really cool concept. And I had dinner with Jordan Monday night, and we got to talk about it just on a one-on-one basis, and it was just really cool to hear his perspective and the admiration for Snow and what he's trying to do. So overall, in my opinion, Snowfro is continually pushing the boundaries of this, and just something I'm very, very excited for. That being said, I don't think there's going to be much returns if you're looking at it as a financial play. I look at this as just an opportunity to onboard more people.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think anyone should buy this thinking they'll make money on it, especially at a $16 mint price. And I think that it's exactly what Snowford talked about. He wanted a really low cost mint, and people are not worried about supply. As soon as there's some supply on there, then people start speculating on price, and something where there's a physical component. He mentioned this on our interview, and it looks like he's executing on that with this project. So that's really cool to see. And I'm excited to see how it goes. Although I'm not going to lie to you, man. I'm just looking at there's different color palettes, there's signature colors, there's different sizes. I could see some rarities emerging, and then people at least trying to make money on some of those. And that's what, this is a longer conversation about if these large supply mints end up having some kind of financial speculative value. But for another time, perhaps a Twitter Spaces, because we know I got to get you out of here. So let's run through real quick. Juan Rodriguez Garcia, an artist you wanted to highlight.
I want to highlight this artist. I've been really fascinated and enamored with some of the test outputs coming through, or test pieces would have been dribbling out. I just think, full disclosure, I hold a lot of Reflejos, but I mean, you see this on screen right now. I mean, the flow, the colorations, I mean, just I think it's absolutely mind-blowing that there hasn't been more attention to Juan, but at the end of the day, I think it's beautiful art, and for those who are interested, there's still attractive price points for some of his work. So, hop on his Twitter. You see it on screen here, _1 RG92, and just peruse through it, and I'm really looking forward to whatever the upcoming art is, quite honestly.
Absolutely. Likewise. He's got a real knack for color and mixing them in interesting ways. The last artist to highlight is Snowfro. We mention him all the time, sometimes in the context of him as being an artist, but I wanted to just point him out as an artist. He has 2 long-form gen art projects, obviously Chromie Squiggle, then also 100 Untitled Spaces from Bright Moments. And then he has an edition with Proof. I think there's about 50 of those. But in the next couple months, he's got 2 projects coming out. The one we just mentioned, released today, Heart Plus Craft, and then another one they'll be coming out with the Red Bull Racing series. So really interested to see how that goes. But, remember, he's an artist too. So wanted to just make that note on Snowfro.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's it, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Jared, I'll get you out of here. Appreciate you. Great to have you back. And for anyone listening, please give us a like, give us a follow. Reach out to us. Let us know what you think. It's really helpful to get your feedback and let us know more of what you want.
Please share feedback, right? We're really open to it. We're always looking to improve and iterate to bring more value to the listenership. So please don't be bashful. We're very open to any sort of feedback. Appreciate all of you. It's great to be back, P. Love connecting with the audience. So thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity. Feels good to be back.
For sure, man. Great to have you back. And I'll get you out of here so you get to your next meeting. For everybody listening, we appreciate you, and we will see you next week.
Thank you for tuning into Collector's Corner. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen. If you like this episode and want to help us out, please subscribe and leave us a review on your podcasting platform of choice, like Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and follow us on YouTube. Please also follow us on Twitter for announcements as we expand to other social and content platforms. Our Twitter handle is @collectors_XYZ. We'd also love to hear any feedback you have, so please comment or reach out. We're always striving to be more useful and get better so we can help you in your collecting journey. The Collector's Corner team and their guests are not registered investment advisors. All views expressed on this podcast are personal opinions and are not specific inducements to make particular investments or investment strategies and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. This show is solely for informational and entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, please consult a professional.